EGM Network.
Hi there, Treasure Coast listener. Welcome back to Whatever with Lou Navarro. I'm Lou Navarro, your host. I am a realtor, a local realtor with Remax Crown Realty. And today we are in a new remodeled studio. It's so nice and comfy and, inviting for our guests and our conversations. So great job, guys, here at the studio. And before we start, I want to give kudos to Evergreen Media and all the sponsors for Downtown Friday in Main Street last Friday. It was such a success event and fun activities. And I personally love to see the community coming out, enjoying themselves while they are supporting the local vendors, the small businesses, and the sponsors that are the one who made this event possible. And I can't go without talking about the mechanical bull. It was such a hit. So many people got into it, even though they didn't last 3 seconds. I couldn't get into it. My nephew did, but such a great event. So kudos to that. And well, today we got a fascinating guest joining us, someone who plays a key role in helping us understand our property values, or one of life's biggest questions: why is our property worth what it's worth? And sitting down with me is Wesley Davis, Indian River County Property Appraiser. And we're going to peel back the curtain on how property values are determined, what's happening in the real estate market and here in Indian River County, and even maybe get some advice on how to boost the home value. So thank you so much, Wesley, for coming to my show, for being here. But before we go into the nitty gritty, let's go back to the basis. And, what exactly does a property appraiser do? And a lot of people, when they hear that title, they just think taxes. So can you go over that with us?
Sure. Absolutely. What my job is to put a value on every piece of property in Indian River County for tax purposes. And it's only for tax purposes. It's not for mortgages or refinancing or anything like that. We do it for the government's budgets, where they attach their millage rate to the values that I put on the properties. And that happens every year. And we start January 1st and we finish up December 31st.
Wow, that's a big job. What would you say is the most surprising thing that people don't understand about Indian River County property appraisals?
Probably what most people don't understand, I would say, is the reason why their taxes are different than their next door neighbor.
Yes.
And the reason that is because of many different things, but it's basically based on the assessed value. Mm-hmm. And depending on the exemptions that somebody's entitled to, that will reduce their assessed value, mm-hmm. and also the time at which they purchase the property.
Okay.
If they purchase the property during the throes of the Great Recession, mm-hmm. And which seems it was about 10 years ago now, it's hard to believe.
Yeah.
That if they purchased it then, prices were really low. Blood was in the streets. The real estate market was in awful condition. Mm-hmm. And but if they bought the home at that time and they homesteaded it, then the assessed value of that property could only go up by 3% or the consumer price index, whichever's less. Now, that didn't affect the market value. That's just the assessed value. Okay. And your taxes are based on the assessed value of the property.
How does that value get assessed or determined? How the property value?
Well, there's 3 ways that we put values on property. We use to put values on properties. One is the income approach. Mm-hmm. You could use if it's a commercial building or something along those lines. That's the income that it produces, and it's pretty easy to with a capitalization rate applied to that to be able to get a value for a piece of property based on its income it produces.
Okay.
The second one is cost approach. What does it cost to build it?
Okay.
And so if it's depending on the construction and that kind of stuff, it's a uniform accepted method of appraising property based on cost replacement. The most common is comparable sales.
Okay.
And that's what we use mostly, especially in the residential, the single-family residential market is the comparable sales, because there's, in a moving market like we have right now, there's a lot of sales to be able to say what that house is worth.
Okay.
And what we do then is we look at it and say, okay, was it an arm's length transaction? What does that mean? Arm's length transaction means that was the property exposed to the market in a reasonable amount of time. What were the terms of the sale?
Okay.
Was it did the seller offer financing?
Okay.
Was each party in the sale were they not related to each other? Was it like a parents selling to a child or something like that? That would make it to where it's not an arm's length transaction.
Okay.
And so once we determine that it is a qualified sale, that it was an arm's length transaction, then we would take that sale into account in that neighborhood on putting values on the properties for that year.
All right. And then let's say that somebody is not happy about their assessed value. Can they challenge it?
Absolutely.
And if so, how?
Okay. What happens is every August, I send out what is called a trim notice.
The trim notice.
And in the trim notice, that stands for truth and millage. And we send it out in the middle of August, and then statutorily, the taxpayers of any River County have the ability to, once they look at that, to challenge several things. The first thing they could challenge is the values. And if they think the values is too high, then they could call us and we look at it, because mistakes can be made.
Yes.
One of them that I'm familiar with, as far as we call it fat finger syndrome, whenever we're
Fat finger.
Yes.
That's nice.
Whenever we're entering in this data inside our system, one of them that sticks out in mind is the house and the fingers. A gentleman came in and said, I think mine's just a little bit higher than everybody else. Can you look at it? We said, sure. Well, sure enough, this gentleman had put up one of the white PVC vinyl fence, and we put a value of $10,000 on it.
Okay.
The value is $10,000, but we had put an extra zero.
Oh,
and so
it's 100,000.
Sure.
That's a big difference.
It is. And mistakes happen. We enter a lot of data.
Now that you touch base on that, so, explain a little bit about when people do modifications to their houses or their property, how that affects that assessed value.
Sure. Whenever somebody does a modification to a piece of property, let's say they add a pool. Okay. Whenever you add a pool, pools right now, it seems like they're $100,000 for a new pool. It's ridiculous.
Incredible.
I remember when it used to be $25,000, but I guess I'm dating myself. But yet, whenever you add a pool, and it might cost $100,000 to install the pool, a $100,000 pool doesn't add $100,000 of value to the price of the house. But it does add. But a pool home will sell more than a non-pool home.
Yes.
So it adds some value to it, and it's our determination to figure out how much that pool adds value. And so it very well is not uncommon for a pool that costs $100,000 to add maybe $30,000 to the value of a property. And so that will get reflected on the value whenever we do that for the following year for the
Awesome. So from a realtor standpoint, and we work with buyers all the time. So one of the most asked questions is there a way that I can see how much my taxes are going to be after the purchase, or even for new construction buyers that are buying new construction? At the time of the purchase, the value is assessed only on land, and now they're going to have this structure. So is there any way they can find out the value beforehand or estimation of that? Or do they have to go to your office, or is there a tool, a calculator? Can you?
Absolutely. First of all, you could always come to our office. Always. You're more than welcome. Or they could call one of our appraisers and ask that question.
Okay.
But also what we have the opportunity to do on my website, there is a property tax estimator. And you could pull up the property, and you put the purchase price of the property. And then after that, then if you want it, you're going to do the homestead, then you could click the little button for the homestead, and it'll knock off the $50,000 off the assessed value of the property.
Okay.
And then you can, after that, then other boxes will pop up as far as what may be, whether they have other exemptions, like are they widowed? Are they paraplegic, quadriplegic? There's a list of prompts that will come up there for them to click if they're eligible or they think they're eligible for some of these other exemptions. And then if they have any portability.
Okay.
You could actually there's a spot right there where you could take the portability.
We're going to talk about it a little bit further down.
And then you push calculate. And what it does is it takes that exact property with the taxing entities, if it's in the city of Vero Beach or unincorporated county, Indian River Shores, wherever it is, that property is not physically is not going to change. So that will get calculated with those taxing entities. And give you a figure.
And it's just there at the finger.
Yeah, you can do that at
your computer.
That's right. Go to ircpa.org, and it's called the tax distribution or tax calculator.
Okay, all right. So again, based on real estate, how is the real estate market use or affect the Indian River County property appraisal process?
Well, I mean, if I understood your question correctly, the real estate, obviously, we take a snapshot, and that snapshot is for a specific year. And then what we'll do is we'll figure out the values. And since taxes are paid in the rears, the values that we're using are for the prior year.
Okay.
So that sometimes if people look at it and they see the values of their property and they think those are off, they probably are, because they can be up to 18 months old as far as the values.
Okay.
And so when you have a real estate market that's been running as hard as it has been for the past 5 years, it seems like, then those numbers are going to look off. But that's the reason why, is because taxes are paid in the rears; they're paid backwards. All
right. You touch base on homestead exemption, and I know we are at that time of the year where we're, approaching the deadline for people to apply. So can you go over on what is homestead exception and how people can benefit from it? And, how many exceptions are there, or as much as you can cover, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We are in what we call exemption season, and that will end March 1st. And so if you have bought land and you plan on farming it and using it for agriculture, now's the time to apply for your agricultural classifications on or before March 1st.
Okay.
Same goes with the homestead exemption. And with that, what the homestead exemption does is it not only gives you that $50,000 off the assessed value. Right now, the most important thing that it does is it makes it so that your assessed value can only go up by 3% or the consumer price index, whichever is less. Okay. So we're in a relatively inflationary period right now. So it most likely for the following year will go up by 3%. But it hadn't been until the past 5 years whenever the assessed values were going up by the consumer price index, which was 1.2, 1.4, 1.6%.
Okay.
So that's really where the value is in that homestead exemption right now, anyhow. Of course, if the market changes, that would change.
So that people understand they have to be living in their property by January 1st of this year in order to apply. So it will be next year for them to apply for homestead exemption from this year.
They can apply this year, but they won't see it on their trim notices for the following year.
Exactly.
And so you said something very important there, and that is that they need to establish it as their primary residence.
Okay.
It is not how long you live there. It doesn't say you need to live there 6 months and a day or anything like that. It's establish it as your primary residence. What does that mean? Your primary residence means, where do you vote?
So you have to have your registration in order to apply.
And if you don't vote, what does your driver's license say?
Okay.
Where does your automobile registrations come to?
Right.
Where and then of course we would like to see like a utility bill that was for the month of December, to say that the power was on in your name, or water or something like that. And we don't need all of that, but all of that helps build the case for us to grant the homestead. So not everybody not everybody drives, not everybody votes. So it's not a requirement to have those.
Yeah.
But everybody has water.
Yeah.
Everybody has power, kind of thing.
So what happens if they miss the deadline? They have to wait the whole year again?
There are some certain extenuating circumstances that I, as the property appraiser after March 1st, can grant. Specifically during COVID. Okay. That was a trying time and everything. And I also do have have the ability to be lenient to a certain extent, where I start to run out of time and can't start to change things is after that trim period.
Okay.
After that 25 days is over.
Oh, yeah.
Because
okay.
At that point in time, the governments that are using my values to set their budgets are attaching their millage rates with it.
Yeah.
And then once they start that process, it gets very hard to start to change those values on my end. And so my hands start to get tied a lot. It's nearly impossible to, after the budget hearings and when the tax note bills have been printed and mailed out, because that's in November, and the fiscal year for the municipalities like the school board and county commission, city councils, that starts October 1st.
Yeah.
So they're already spending that money at that point. And so if somebody comes back and they want me to try to do something, then I've got to go to the school board and ask them for $1.32.
Yeah.
The city council for 75 cents.
Wow.
And I just can't. My hands get tied.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Create your island paradise at Sunshine Furniture during our winter sale event. Save 50% on all Tommy Bahama and Lexington, including the newest collection, Key Biscayne. Living room, dining room, occasional chairs, office, and media furniture with sophisticated design and a mix of coastal and Caribbean style. All Tommy Bahama and Lexington offer everything you need for your Florida living. We have the largest selection of in-stock coastal furniture from Four Seasons, Capri, Universal, Riverside, Hooker, Sea Winds, Barca Lounger, Best, and lots more. At Sunshine Furniture, we're the outdoor furniture experts specializing in patio sets that withstand the Florida elements, and we have a gallery of Berlin Garden and Bollywood. Come in now for the best prices of the year. Sunshine Furniture, $12.95 US 1 in Vero Beach. Don't miss the 50% off winter sale on Tommy Bahama and Lexington going on now. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com and visit our outlet store directly across the street.
Hello, it's John Bona, and it's that time of year. It's time for the 21st Vero Beach Prayer Breakfast. We're looking forward to seeing you Thursday morning, February 13th, 7:30 to 9:30, inside a big tent at Riverside Park. Come and hear American legend Pat Boone, Dr. Erwin Lutzer, and Michelle Bachman.
Tickets and sponsorships are available at VeroBeachPrayerBreakfast.com. That's VeroBeachPrayerBreakfast.com.
Are you becoming a realtor, contractor, mold remediator, guardian? In the state of Florida, these and many other industries require a Level 2 live scan background check for clearance to work in your industry. A1A Fingerprints is your certified live scan source from Broward to Brevard. And if you're a medical provider, you need to be registered on the ACA web portal. A1A Fingerprints will help you navigate and comply with the law. Call 772-494-6556 or visit A1AFingerprints.com. A1A Fingerprints.
Welcome back. We are here with Wesley David, Indian River County Property Appraiser. And let's go back to homestead exceptions. I want to ask you, I know there is multiple seniors, veterans, disabled person, widows, or first responders for that matter. But how about a person that is fully disabled, wheelchair bound person apply for exception? How will they go out apply? And what part of the taxes are except for them?
Sure. They could come into the office. What we need is basically a doctor's saying that you have that fully disabled, whether you're a paraplegic, quadriplegic, blind, deaf. There's all kind of, and right now those are currently $5,000 that gets taken off the assessed value of the property.
Okay. And
so they can do it. Come into the office and do it. They can do it online. Whatever's easiest for them.
All right, that's easy. So, we were talking about homestead exception, and then you touched on something that is so important, and a lot of people, I believe, that are not aware of it, and it's portability or the Save Our Home program. Yeah. And one of the most, and I actually was talking to one of my sellers a couple of days ago about this. She is under the impression that it's only 2 years, and I am under the impression that it's 3 years. So can you touch base on the timeline and how can they take advantage of that benefit when they are selling and moving to another home?
Sure. Well, the portability is the difference between the market value that we put on the property and the assessed value.
Mm-hmm.
And so if a homestead property's been, if you had a property for a long time in any River County, chances are there's a big difference between your assessed value because that property could have only gone up by 3% of the consumer price index, whichever's less.
Okay.
So that difference between the market value and the homestead and the assessed value, that's your portability.
Okay.
Now, you have the ability to take up to $500,000 of that portability.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you're allowed to have is up to $500,000.
Okay.
And port that, and you have up to 3 years to do it. But let
Okay.
me step you through the process on that. So if you are selling your homesteaded property and moving into a new homesteaded property, if the market value is greater than or equal to the market value of the property you're buying, then you could port 100% of that portability up to the $500,000.
Okay.
Okay. If it's, let's say you're downsizing and moving into a condominium and the condominium is half the value,
Okay.
then you can only port 50%
of that
of that value
okay.
over to the new homestead. And when I say, and of course that gets applied up and down the scale kind of thing with the percentage. When I say up to 3 years, it's 3 calendar years.
Okay.
So if you were to sell your home right now, 1 month's already gone.
Okay.
So then you have basically 11 months and 2 years.
Okay.
If you would have sold it December 25th on Christmas, that was one of your years already gone.
Wow.
So then you only have 2 more years.
Oh, interesting.
So it's the calendar year is the timing on that.
Okay, interesting. So this portability is only for people that are moving within the same county or
No.
the state of Florida?
That's a great question. If you're in Miami and you moved to come up here and you had a homesteaded property down there, that portability will come with you to your new homestead up here. It's anywhere in the state of Florida.
And what about if they lose that time frame? Can they use it? It's lost.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Yep.
All right.
And it used to be only up to 2 years.
Okay.
But about 3 or 4 years, probably about 4 years ago now, they had a constitutional amendment that extended it for another year. And
Okay.
the thought process behind that is it took more than 2 years to actually sometimes build a house for somebody that was trying to do it themselves.
Okay.
You know, maybe some of
That
these
makes
national
sense.
builders, they can build it quick. But if they're trying to do it themselves and do a custom home of some kind, sometimes it takes longer than 2 years.
And well, you already touched on that. You can transfer up to 500,000.
Yes, up to. So if you have $2 million worth of say our homes are deferred between the assessed value and the market value, you can't take all $2 million of that. You can only take 500,000.
Can that be applied to inheriting homes?
To inherited homes? If it's going to be your new homestead.
Okay,
Yeah.
it has to be your homestead.
Yeah, you don't have to go buy a homestead. It's
Okay.
just got to be your new homestead.
Okay, all right.
But we on that inherited home, we will have a market value on it.
Okay.
So that's how we don't. That's why we don't necessarily need a cash
And
transaction.
can it be done online?
Portability?
Uh-huh.
Yes. Whenever you apply for the homestead, after you apply for the homestead, because you can't port unless you do have the homestead, you can apply for. There's a form on there online, or you can come into the office. We'll ask you where your former homestead was, in what county, or what, even down the street, and we can figure all that out for you.
All right, quick question, and this is something that is starting to happen a lot, and we have seen an increase in fraud where scammers impersonate homeowners that are mostly SMTs. Is there anything that your organization is doing to prevent that? And also, what steps do you suggest the owners take in order to avoid being in that situation?
Sure. There is on my website a place called Fraud Alert, and what you can do is you click on that and you enter in the name of the owner of the property. That's what that's on the deed, and then you confirm that, and then you enter in the email address and confirm that, and then you submit that, and that goes to the clerk of the circuit court, and they'll send you a confirmation email back. And whenever they do, after that point, any document that gets recorded in the clerk of the circuit courts in Indian River County with your name on it, you'll be notified.
Awesome. I think that you guys, anybody needs to take advantage of that. We realtors are seeing this is being incrementing a lot, and so it's something that you can do it.
And that again, I don't want to give any false assumptions. That doesn't stop it.
Yeah.
But the faster you know about it, the faster it can be undone, reversed, or keep some funds.
Well,
being
this
transferred.
has been awesome. I think that we are about to finish up here. I have one question for you. If you was the oldest property that you have access here in Indian River County?
What's the oldest? Wow.
If you don't remember, don't worry.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's some old structures here, but I don't. They run together, so I don't know. Like
Well,
off the top
thank
of my
you
head.
so much,
Thank
Wesley. You have given a lot to think about, and before we wrap up, pretty sure you have mentioned it over the conversation, but you have an open door policy, right?
Oh, yeah,
People
absolutely.
can go on,
Yeah.
any errors or anything, any problems that they have with the property, they can go on.
They can come in there and make sure when they do, make sure they tell them
All right.
Wesley sent me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for all the listeners that tune in to another episode of Whatever with Lou Navarro. You can follow me, subscribe into my social media, my YouTube channel, and leave us a review. Until the next time, take care and enjoy this beautiful Vero Beach. Y recuerda, yo hablo tu idioma. Chao, chao.